Welcome to the Welsh Woodman channel, and in tonight's video we're going to have a go at turning a nest of bowls from this log. So this is going to be a commemorative piece. So a lovely couple contacted me a while back saying that they had a tree felled in their garden. They planted the tree over 25 years ago, and the tree itself is an incense tree. So it's a lovely smelling tree as you cut into it. So the best thing about commemorative work, which is my favourite type of turning, is you get to meet some really lovely and fascinating people. So the chap that I collected this wood from, he was a British Army captain, a squadron leader in the RAF, and a serving medical doctor. So really fascinating chap. So we're going to have a go now at making this into a lovely set of bowls. Hope you enjoy. So the first thing we're going to do is establish a mounting point. So there's several options here. I'm going to go with a really chunky wormwood screw for this piece. Any larger, this piece, I'd probably go for a faceplate to hold it. So I'm going to be drilling a 14mm hole down to my required depth. So we've got a really chunky wormwood screw. We're going to feed this on nice and slowly to make it safe. So as you can see, it's tightened all the way up to the top of the sort of faceplate that the wormwood screw is coming through. Now it's really important we're getting a flat surface there, as it's going to allow us to get a nice balanced turn. So step number one in tackling this beast, we're going to be using a bowl gouge, and I've got a Celtic grind on this one, or Irish grind, Ellsworth grind, number of names, and we're going to be using that to get a flat spot to begin with. That's going to allow us then to probably get a chisel in, take away some of this bark area, especially the sap, and we should be able to just peel the bark off. So we don't want that flying off mid-turning, so it's going to really help us out. We're going to be using a powered respirator. This is going to help keep our eyes and lungs nice and safe as we're turning. So we're going to gradually bring up the speed, tool handle down, feeding in. We just want to get rid of this bark. So it's very green and stringy, this piece. We want to get through the cambrium layer of the bark, and then we can start hitting this off with a mallet, hopefully. So starting again to solid wood now, this is good. You'll notice I'm moving with my body. So notice I'm engaging my hips, I'm moving with my hips, not my arms. So it's a whole body process. So I'm starting to overreach the tool post quite a lot now. So the fulcrum point's not in my favour. So I'm going to adjust the tool rest inwards. Always give them a good spin, make sure you're not catching any areas. Physics is more in my favour now, so I can continue. So I've just stopped as the bark on the lathe is starting to lift, so we can use that to our advantage and take it off with a larger chisel. It's better to do it that way than having this piece flying off as we're turning. It gets a little bit too exciting for me. So I'm going to pry this off. It's really full of moisture, this, and it's the gorgeous sort of smell in the workshop at the moment. Never turned an incense tree before, but I'm glad I got a few bits to play with now. Okay, so wow, really resinous. You can see how shiny that is from the moisture coming through. Peeling off, lovely. Wish you could be here to smell this, it's gorgeous. So big long shavings, that's what we like to see. This is the beauty about turning greenwood. So just really establishing the back side of the bowl shape. Now, you'll notice by looking at the top of the bowl, you can see air log a lot of the time. That's where I'm getting a slight tool chattering. So I'll get that until I get the bowl into the round, and as soon as I get into the round, I can really start playing around with the shape. So I've just changed gouges over now to a 40-40 grind. See the long, thin, stringy shavings coming off. It's a really good bowl grind for turning the outside and inside of bowls. So a 40 degree on the wings and on the bevel. You can slowly start then establishing the outside shape because it's into the round, and we can work where the foot is going to be coming from. So I've just used off camera a pair of dividers to match it up to my jaws, so to try and get the jaws completely into the round. I'm just doing some scraping cuts, so shear scraping pull cuts to remove material quickly, and I can start establishing more than the foot using a parting tool. So I'm parting down to the depth of my jaws, and I'm putting a slight dovetail angle onto the parting as well to match the inside profile of my jaws. And I can just hog away material now by doing more pull cuts. I need to sort of blend that into the profile of the bowl. As you can see, the beauty of turning greenwood, we get these long, thin, stringy shavings coming off. So just taking off the bowl off the screw track, and I'm going to need to face off the top. Now, to make the proportions look right, I needed to take off 20mm, so just under an inch, and I'm working away towards the centre. You can see I'm stepping this in towards the centre rather than trying to take the whole lot off in one go. I just find that nice controlled way of removing material off is far better for me than trying to take big chunks off, and you're less likely to get a catch that way as well. So I'm just facing this material off, so I want a nice flat surface I can work from, and because this is quite a large chunky bowl, we can probably get some cores out of this. So I'm going to be using the McNaughton coring system next to help me do that. Just raising up my tool rest a little bit just to get the sort of final cut into the centre. Creating a little tenon, mortise, sorry, and a tenon I guess, and I'm just marking on the 3 different sections of the bowls that I'm going to be coring out with. So I'm going to be using a McNaughton centre saver to help me core out these. So I'm going to start off with a straight parting tool just to get a dig in. So you see with the pencil marks there, the wall thicknesses roughly. This will allow me to get, in theory, several bowls, so cores out of these rather than just a single bowl. I'm going to get more of a nest forming then. So I'm not the best at using this. If you want to see someone who's amazing at using this system, you want to check out some of Mike Mahoney's videos. He's absolutely awesome at using this. Let's get it all set up. Face shield on, and with this we can really turn down the speed, so about 800 RPMs. So it's long, thin, stringy shavings, nice and sharp this. So I'm just establishing a groove with my curve tool is going to go next. So the key with this is always pull it out as soon as it's starting to clog up, otherwise the tool will bind, get a nasty catch, and the bowl will be somewhere in my roof. So, there we go. One successful core. Yes. So we got another way to remount this onto the lathe. So I've just put a bigger curve tool on. So I'm sort of sighted down from the top, looking at where that tool would end in the centre, scrolling back, sighting down the tool, and I'm able to see where my starting point is that way. So if you want to see a fantastic video on how to use this as well, check out Worth the Effort Woodworking. So it's a guy called Sean and his dad. Definitely worth checking out his channel if you haven't come across it already. Really good stuff on there. So when this tool's cutting properly, we should be getting these long, thin, sort of thingy string, long, thin, stringy shavings. If you're not getting that, you're going to probably need to sharpen it, I've found. Hey, so we got 3 cores out of that. So what we need to do now is turn a little 10 on the back of that one, turn out this shape, and I want to do quite a thin one for this one. I'm going to have to probably make a jam chuck to mount this to the lathe, or could we, if I had a tailstock, which I don't on this lathe, I'd be turning a tenon off this, tenon on there and remounting it, but we'll do a separate jam check for that. So we've come to my favourite stage in making the bowl, in hollowing out the centre. And we're going to try and hollow out the centre following the profile of the outside shape. And we're going to try and get an equal wall thickness throughout. What that will do, as the piece dries, is less likely to dramatically warp. Now, because we cut the pith out of this wood as well to begin with, we're less likely to get cracks as well. Now you'll notice, because this is green, it's really wet, number 1, and number 2 is really easy to cut. So if you haven't tried green wood turning yet, highly recommend it, so much more fun. I need to be clever one day and get a bin that these all drop into. Use my fingers as a gauge. So I've gone all the way down to the bottom, used my calipers to get an even more thickness throughout. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to seal in the edge of this now. Just going to put a thick coat of wax on the outside. I tend to leave the inside without any finish on, as it allows the water to evaporate quicker that way. So thick coat of just paste wax over the top, and we can come and revisit this in a few months' time. So I'm just using a thick sort of paste wax, doesn't really matter the brand. Just want to get a nice thick coat over the top, rub them on, and what that's going to do is it's going to encourage the bowl to dry out at a slower rate. You want to especially get the end grain with this, but you don't want to cover the end grain on the inside, because you're going to need to allow water to evaporate somewhere. What I have done in the past, rather than just rubbing it on, is I've, over my log burner, I put a little vat of wax mixed in with some oil, and I just roll this in like a baking tin. And I just roll this outer edge in the baking tin, that seals it in. So the last sort of step with this then, what I tend to do is just put some wet shavings in there, and I'll just slow out the little drying process gradually rather than quickly, and you're less likely to get some cracks forming. So you've still got air flowing in between the shavings, which will let the water evaporate. And what I'll tend to do is I'll tend to take them out every couple of months or so, just to see how they're getting on. Just a word of warning, they can get mouldy, which is a bit horrible, so just be aware of that. So here's the aftermath of a day's worth of production turning. You can see that's almost waist high, so I'm going to take that out with the wheelbarrow and the shovel in a minute. But you can see I got quite a high yield from all the different logs and the cores. So it's quite fun this, and there's the one in the back we'll have a closer look at in a second. That's the one we cored out in the video. So it's been a fun old day's worth of turning. Just changed my t-shirt over, the other one was soaking through. So you can see the 3 different cores then from this. Wood shavings in there to help it dry out slower. I've got a little moisture sensor I use, so there's these little 2 probes in there. You can jab in and it'll tell you what moisture content the wood is as an average. And I'll wait until this gets down to about 14% moisture content, or between 10 and 14, and I'll do a return and refinish then. So thank you so much for watching tonight's project. Hope it's been really enjoyable for you. If you haven't done so already, please consider supporting me and subscribing to my channel by hitting the link below, as that's really going to help me out in getting more videos like this your way. So I hope you have a great night. Diolch yn fawr, nos da.